are coming to you from our Cranberry Township studios with our Spring Sports Playoff Preview podcast featuring 5 interviews with student athletes from various spring sports. My name is Ryan Berry.
And my name is Alex Brown.
And we are your hosts for this podcast. You might be confused as to why I'm doing the intro. Alex is a little bit cold and he asked if I could do it. But I was surprised that Alex gave up that responsibility for this week.
A little nasally today. It's a great episode. It really is. We're putting together today.
5 interviews.
Yeah.
With 2 members of the track team, 2 members of softball, and a member of the baseball team. And we'll also talk about the volleyball upcoming playoffs. So we've done a lot of interviews with volleyball players this year. So we didn't feel like we had to get a volleyball player for this podcast.
Makes a lot of sense. And here we go. Let's start out with baseball. Baseball, they had a tough non-conference start to the year. They got beat around a bit. Especially by Gateway, in which they lost that game 11-1, and that was a game changer and a season changer at that. And I think that they're at a place right now as the 3 seed in the playoffs. They're in a place where they like where they're at.
Yeah, definitely. The bats have been coming alive, and they like where they are for the pitching, because you think about it in the playoffs, you got the quarters. You're gonna pitch your number 1 or number 2 guy, probably number 2, or I guess you pitch the number 2. But then after that, you pitch the number 1, and then you get a break before the championship. You get to pick who you want, whoever is the stronger hand. So you don't have to play those 4th or 5th pitchers, which aren't necessarily bad options, but you get your top-of-the-line guys for the playoffs. In North Catholic, they've got those 2 guys, and Patrick Synan and
Justin Stupka. Absolutely. Now they get, as that 3 seed, they get that bye where they get that whole week off. They don't play till, I think it's the 23rd, which is next week. And so they get a whole week off. They do play today against NA in a bit of a scrimmage of a game. But that's going to be a great contest. We'll talk about that in a moment. But they get that bye, and they get their pick of who they want to pitch. If they win that game against, I believe it's the winner of Uniontown and Knock, that's who they'd play on the 23rd. If they win that game against that team, they play the next day on the 24th, and then you start your second pitcher. But both those pitchers, Stupka and Synan, both remarkable years, really remarkable years, and you can't go wrong with either one.
Yeah, and you don't even feel right calling one and number 2.
Yeah.
You think they're both equal, so you're comfortable with whoever you have on the mound. North Catholic was 8-2 in conference this year, 11-7 overall, putting them first in Section 1 of Class 4A. The other 2 section winners, Montour, who was the favorite to win it all, was 12-0 in conference, 15-5 overall, and they're looking for their first WPIALS championship in over 50 years. And then the Section 3 winner was West
Mifflin? Is that your saying?
West Mifflin.
Yes.
Rather, 11-1 conference record, 15-3 overall, Alex. They're the 2 seed, so some challenging teams. North Catholic, though, won't have to face one of them until the semis, and if they win, not the other one until the championship game.
That's a great point, and they've really been battle-tested throughout this year. And playing NA today, Ryan, when you play a team like NA, in which they're at the top, they're the top of the top in terms of what you can get in this area, it seems. They're going up against Cole Young, who's one of the best pitchers in this region. He's going to be an MLB draft pick pretty soon. He's got scouts that come to his games. He's a great hitter, great pitcher. What's the expectation going into a game like this?
Well, it's a scrimmage.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter. You're just trying to get some guys time before. You've had a week off, and you're going to have more days off before you have your first playoff game on Monday. So you're going to try to, knock the rust off. Have a game in between the end of the regular season and then the start of the playoffs. And I like this by Coach McKay getting this against this. I think NA is the 2nd seed in Class 6A, and so they're definitely a challenging team. North Catholic, I don't know if they expect to win this one, but it's a scrimmage. And Coach McKay told us earlier, you can't win a scrimmage. It's just a time to practice and learn new things to get ready for the postseason.
That was a classic Coach McKay line. You can't win a scrimmage. And we're like at the beginning of the year, that was like a nice win. Great, that was a great win, Coach. It's like, well, you can't win a scrimmage, guys. Like, okay. That's the type of expectations that he has for his team, and that he set up for them over the course of this year. And for more on that, and a little bit of the inside perspective on the team, let's talk to Tommy Koroly.
And we're here with North Catholic second baseman Tommy Koroly. Tommy, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Hi, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, buddy?
Great.
Tommy, you're leading the team in RBIs this year. What has allowed you to be so successful with runners in scoring position this year?
I mean, just go up to the plate and just you have good approach and hit the ball hard, and good things happen.
So, Tommy, you've only struck out 3 times this year. How have you been able to keep the ball and play consistently and avoiding striking out?
Well, I just look for my pitch and I try to, spit on the bad pitches away and find my pitch and swing at it hard.
Starting pitching this year has been great, and you've pitched in a variety of different fashions this year, mostly in relief, but you've done a great job at that as well. But notably with Patrick Synan in the starting position with a 1.02 ERA and Justin Succo with a 1.98 ERA. How much confidence does it give you and the rest of the team knowing that your starting pitchers are capable of shutting down anyone?
It gives us a lot of confidence on defense. Like, we got good defense as well. And, I mean, you have pitchers who can hit spots, and it's great, and it's just really bats that have to work there.
Tommy, a lot of contributing members of this team are underclassmen. How does that give you guys confidence, not only for this postseason, but for future seasons, knowing that you'll be competitive each year?
We'll be good. Like, for the next 2 years I'm here, we'll be keeping good. Like, we have, I think everyone in our starting positional defense is all underclassmen. We have no seniors, really, besides Patty. And, I mean, we got some good players and a lot of time to develop.
Absolutely. And lastly, you guys are entering now the postseason. You play next week, and that'll be a great matchup as well. How confident and excited is this group to get the playoffs started?
It's great. If we play Knock or Uniontown, we know what Knock is,
Yeah.
but it's hard to beat a team 3 times. So you got to go in like it's just a playoff game. Like, don't think, oh, yeah, we beat this team twice. It's going to be easy. But that's really all.
And thank you for your time today, Tom. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Heard from Tommy Koroly, North Catholic baseball second baseman, and as he said, it's tough to beat a team 3 times, and that's what North Catholic may have to do if they play Knock, the 6th seed, who's going to go against Uniontown, the 11th seed. North Catholic beat Knock 10-4, and the next night it was a low-scoring affair with Patrick Synan pitching 6 2/3 innings, letting up only 1 run,
Yeah,
and
that was
North Catholic
incredible,
won that
yeah.
one 2-1. I mean, it's just
And Tommy
gives you
Koroly got the save in that.
yeah,
game.
and it gives you confidence that you can win a high-scoring game. Your bats can come alive, and you have the pitchers to win a low-scoring game as well.
And that's really what it's about when you have these teams kind of sports. You have to have confidence. When you get dirty, you get messy, and you make those mistakes during over the course of the game, let's say in the field. But you have to have that confidence that when you go up to the plate the next inning, you might get a hit here. You might get a run back. And you have to have that confidence in either side of at either side of the equation, whether it's the field, whether it's the pitching, and whether it's baseball. Obviously baseball, whether it's at the plate. But obviously, that's definitely the case with this club, and we wish them the best of luck.
Yep, and with that, let's move on to softball, Alex. Softball is now in the playoffs, as I believe they are the 9th seed, heading the playoffs with a 6-6 record. They've had a good year, and they've had some tough moments this year, especially with some injuries and a smaller roster. They've proved to be resilient throughout the year, Alex, and that gets them ready to try to make a run in the playoffs.
Ryan, they have a roster of 12 girls on this team. 12 girls on this team. You get players that are hurt. Anna and Natalia, they're out for the entire year. They haven't played that much at all this season. And now you're down to 10 girls, and you have to fill out a roster and you make it to the playoffs with that kind of roster. And a competitive section is what they're in too. That just shows the type of character, the type of leadership, and the type of coaching that they have on that club.
Yeah, and so they were 6-6 overall. They were 4-4 in conference. I'm just gonna read you the scores of each of those wins, and it's really gonna be mind-boggling how many runs they're scoring in these games. Against Eden Christian, they won 14-2, and that was non-conference. Against Brashear, they won 6-5. That was non-conference. Derry 9-1. That was conference. Shadyside, they won 13-2. That was conference. Derry 7-6, conference again, and then Shadyside again 17-3. Alex. So their wins, they've been scoring a lot, and they're going to try to keep the bats alive, try to find a recipe to get the bats going in playoffs, because if they can get them going and scoring those runs that they have been, those wins, they can make a run in the playoffs.
And with their pitching as well, they've only had 3 games this year where they've gone they've given up over 5 runs. So their pitching has been pretty good too, and it's definitely exciting to see the success from this team. And it's a young club, as you're going to have some talented players come up in the upcoming years. But when I talked about leadership there, Ryan, let's talk to Abbie Sutton and hear what she has to say about leadership in her club as the season has progressed to this point. We're with North Catholic senior softball player Abbie Sutton. Abbie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Abbie, last year in the playoffs, you guys were the number 2 seed, but then got knocked out early to Southmoreland. How has that motivated you guys to get back to the playoffs this year and be more successful?
Well, so in all honesty, it was definitely a game we should have won last year, and I think we all have a lot more motivation this year going into the playoffs and knowing to not really take anything for granted. Anything can happen. I think last year we kind of went in with the mindset that we were the number 2 seed and we had it in the bag, and then we got whomped on by Southmoreland. So I think this year coming in with a lot more intensity and focus into that game and taking care of business.
You have a smaller team than most might imagine. You only have 12 girls on the team this year. Has that brought the team closer together as a result?
For sure. It's definitely one of the closest teams I think I've been on all 4 years of high school, and even other teams I've been on. Having a small roster, we've really had to work together. A lot of people are playing different positions than what they would normally play. But yeah, definitely having a really small roster has forced us to all become really close with each other this year.
Not only have you guys had a small roster, but you also had some injuries this year. You've been able to maintain, your resiliency through that. How important has leadership been throughout these hard times?
Yeah, so it's really forced a lot of people to step up, given the injuries we've had. I know 2 of our best players, Natalia and Anna, they're both incredible ball players. They both were out for the season with injuries, so a lot of people have had to step up. I know we had our freshman catcher. She caught every single game because our other catcher was out. So, yeah, even people like freshmen or people who necessarily didn't start last year have had to become leaders this year in order to have a successful season.
In your 6 wins this year, you guys have put up 14, 6, 9, 13, 7, and 17 runs in each of those games. What has been the key to getting the bats going in those games, and how do you hope to get those offensive outbursts in the postseason?
I think we really feed off each other's energies, so once one person starts hitting, usually then we'll be able to string a bunch of hits together. And even though we don't always have the most home runs or a bunch of doubles, we're a team that's able to put runs on the board without necessarily getting the most hits with stealing bases or just making smart base running plays. So I think just focusing and trying to feed off each other's energy when we are starting to string together hits is what's going to be able to get us those runs together.
So lastly, we've got Mount Pleasant coming up in a couple of days for the postseason game. What's your guys' confidence level going into this game?
I'd say we like to go into every game with the same level of confidence that if we play our best, we can beat anyone. So I think our goal is to just hit and make the routine plays, because routine plays are what win games.
Well, thank you for your time, Abbie. It was a great interview, and good luck in the playoffs.
All right, thank you.
And you just heard from Abbie Sutton. Now let's move on to our second softball interview with Lily Koller. We're here with North Catholic softball player Lily Koller. Lily, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for having me.
Lily, your team has put together a strong season despite a small roster and injuries. How have you been able to overcome that adversity to make it to the playoffs?
It's a combination of hard work and then the fact that we all work so well together. We all get along really well and we're all really close, so that helps a lot when we're on the field together. And then we practice a lot, and aside with good coaching, it's all of us working together, and that helps us overcome all the little issues that we faced.
There's only been 3 games this year where the pitching staff has let up more than 5 runs. How does that play into the confidence of the team, knowing that your pitching staff can shut any team down the
It's a really good feeling because there's less pressure, not only on our bats, but also the feeling that we can hang in with any team and we don't have to worry as much. There's less pressure on our defense and then on us when we're hitting, because we know we have a pitcher and our pitching staff that can back us up.
You've had a great sophomore season this year, highlighted by a great year at the plate in particular.
Thank you.
How have you developed that power over the course of the season?
It's a lot of work, and it all depends on your pitching, and we do a lot of practicing, so I just like to do as much as I can at practice, and then I work by myself, and I have hitting lessons and coaching instruction. It's just a lot of work and sticking through when there's a rough game or two, just to get to the good stuff.
You guys are in a pretty competitive section. Do you think that's, a benefit to you guys, knowing that you've been more battle-tested throughout the season?
Yeah, I think it's always a good thing, especially with the playoff games we have coming up. We're playing Mount Pleasant, who they're the returning champs from last year, and it's a lot of prep for that, not only with facing good competition like Deer Lakes or a Valley. it's just a really good feeling knowing we can hang with good teams like that, and it's good preparation for the good teams we're going to face in the playoffs.
Now heading into your playoff matchup with Mount Pleasant, how's the morale of the team, and what are the expectations going into the game?
It's really good going into it. We've had a lot of good practices, and we've all been working pretty hard for it. So I think we're really ready for it, and I think we're definitely going to give them a really good run for their money. I think we have a really good shot this year.
Absolutely. We wish you the best of luck in that.
You.
Thank you for giving us the time today. And you just heard from Lily Koller. Both Lily and Abbie we thank for their time, as we do all our guests. And it's really, we appreciate them giving us the opportunity. But it's also great to see what they've been doing, because we haven't talked a lot about softball this year, but they've really put on a big show as of late and a big push to make it into the playoffs. And it's a great squad, and it's something we have to be supportive of. And they play today, Ryan.
Yeah, they do. May 17th, the podcast will be up after the game happens, so we're hoping for a win. So you can listen to this previewing the rest of the playoffs instead of just previewing the upcoming playoffs that are already over.
Yep, and they play Mount Pleasant, and this is going to be a great matchup against Mount Pleasant. It's to be at Fox Chapel, as the game was at today, and that's going to be exciting. And hopefully, we wish them all the best.
Yeah, we definitely do. Let's hope for a win. And now let's move on to track, Alex. Why don't you give us a rundown, because you were on the track team, give us a rundown of how the track team's feeling and who's playing in the upcoming WPIALS Championships, or who's running or throwing or whatever in the upcoming WPIALS Championship.
Well, this season has really been a remarkable year for the track team.
First-year head coach, right?
It's first-year head coach, Coach Terry, and he's brought in Coach DeWitt, Coach Ty, and Coach Pascal. The Pascals have been absolutely fantastic to the track organization this year. As we know Trevor.
Who doesn't know Trevor?
Who doesn't know Trevor? And his parents have done so much for the team this year in terms of coaching and being like the managing over us and like keeping us on task. Mr. Pascal's done a remarkable job at that, and Miss Pascal's coached long distance as well. But we've also had Coach Terry, Coach Ty, Coach DeWitt doing a remarkable job coaching the team. The sprinters, the long distance, the throwers this year, the jumpers, the pole vaulters. We're going to talk to Caroline Adams in a minute. But it's been absolutely remarkable, the success that the team has had. And even if these participants didn't all make it to WPIALS, I think we have well over 20 kids participating in individual WPIALS coming up tomorrow on Wednesday, the 18th. But it's not all about the individual success. It's about the success and how that contributes to the success of the team. And that's really what you feel over the course of the year for track, because it's an individual sport. It's an individual, the accomplishments are all individual in terms of your individual success. But your individual success is what contributes to the team's success. If you're not successful, the team's not going to be successful. And that's what makes track great, because you can be great at what you do, and you can contribute not only to yourself and have your own self-accomplishments, but it contributes to the team's accomplishments as a whole. And no matter who's made it to individual WPIALS, they all contributed to the overall success of the team this year. I'm sorry that was long-winded, but everyone's done a great job.
It was good. And Alex, you qualified in all three of your events, the 100, the 200, and the shot put. How does it make you feel to be able to qualify in all three, and you broke your personal record in the 200 as well?
It's insignificant to what we're trying to over the course of the team's efforts. It's great to be a part of that experience tomorrow. It's gonna be exciting. I'm excited for it. But we're excited for what the future holds as well, and that as a team is as well. And we have seniors going into this week. We're going to talk to Tehya in a second as well after Caroline. But it's individual. The individual track championships is like the only time when you think of it as track as an individual sport. Because it's over the course of the year, it's all about we. But now it gets to be about me. And it feels uncomfortable in a way, because you don't want it to ever be about you when you're talking about track, which really is a team kind of event. But it's exciting. We're all excited for it. And for talk to someone who is going to be there tomorrow. Two people are going to be there tomorrow. Let's first hear a conversation with Caroline Adams,
the lone pole vaulter for North
Yes.
Catholic. And we are here with North Catholic pole vaulter Caroline Adams. Caroline, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
You're welcome.
Caroline, to start off, could you explain what pole vaulting is and how it's scored in a meet?
So in a meet, they will have the bar, they have a starting height, and they'll put the bar at a starting height. Normally, for the meets I've been to, it's around like 6 feet or 6'6", and then every pole vaulter gets a chance to run and make it over the bar. And they get 3 chances, and then if you miss it all 3 times, you're out. But if you pass it, then they just keep moving the bar up. It's by 6-inch increments, and then you just keep going until all the athletes are out.
So, Caroline, there hasn't really been that many pole vaulters in North Catholic. I think you're the only one right now. So what got you interested in pole vaulting?
Well, I did gymnastics my whole life, and a friend of mine that I did gymnastics with started it in 7th grade, and then she was talking to me about it for a couple years and wanted me to try it with her because she thought that I would like it and I'd be good at it. And then she got me to go to the club place that she goes, and I tried it with her, and I ended up really liking it.
So you practice it at the club place, and
Yeah.
you have your own coach there. But how is it different, like, because you're not able to be coached by someone that we have here? Is that a little bit different for you?
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience than the other kids on the track team because I practice separately than them at the club place.
Yeah.
And then when I go to the meets, my coach has been to one of my meets from the club place, but he also sometimes coaches at Riverside, so he's not able to make it to a lot of the meets. But I've also had a friend come and help coach me, but it's just a little different because I'm not like with the other kids normally.
So in pole vaulting, how important is each movement? I mean, if you mess up one movement, you can like mess up the entire jump. How important is each movement to be as precise as possible?
It's actually really important. I was having trouble with that earlier in the season. When you take off, you have to make sure you're jumping to take off because then I would like get high enough on my pole, but I wouldn't get deep enough. So I would be at the level of the bar, but I wouldn't actually make it over horizontally. So it's pretty important to make sure you get everything down right, or one thing could just be a little off and you can hit the bar.
Pole vault might be an individual event, but has it been any more rewarding to be a part of a team this year?
Yeah, I mean, I've been like basically doing individual sports most of my life with gymnastics, so it is cool like with pole vault because it's still a team event with track.
Yes.
So like even if I do well myself or don't do well myself, like it still affects the whole team, so it is cool to have that aspect of it.
So Caroline, you've made it to WPIALS in your first year participating in high school track and field. How important was that to you going into your first year?
Honestly, at the beginning of the year, I really had no idea how well I was going to progress over the year, and I didn't know if that was even like an idea, like if I should set that as a goal. I didn't really know if that was realistic, so it's pretty exciting that I did make it because I wasn't totally sure that I was going to be able to do that.
And what's that bar that you had to reach over to get there?
Well, right now my PR is 9'8", but you had to be in like the top 16 to do it, so it wasn't like a specific height. I think that the height might have been like 8'6" or 9 feet, around that height to be able to make it.
Well, that's awesome, and we hope you keep on getting higher over the course of the meet and the rest of the year, and we really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
And you just heard from Caroline Adams, recapping a little bit of what she does in pole vaulting, because not many people know what goes on in the pole vaulting world, as she's the only North Catholic pole vaulter. But that was a good interview, and now I understand a lot more of what she does and like what she's trying to accomplish in each of her vaults. I don't know if that's what it's called or not.
It is absolutely, yep. And let's talk a little bit more to another person that's going to states, Tehya. We are North Catholic Senior Varsity Track and Field runner Tehya. Tehya, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Tehya, what inspired you to join the track team this year?
I really just wanted to try a new sport, and I had done track once in middle school, and knew that like I was kind of good for it, and people had been telling me to do track, so I finally kind of gave in and said, I'll do it during club soccer season as well.
Do you feel like all your endurance from soccer that you get over the course of the games and the seasons really carried over into the track season?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it helped me most in the 400 because it's a long sprint, which definitely takes a lot of people, like a lot of training to be able to do. But I think soccer was able to help me do well with that, like right away.
Out of all the races you compete in, the 100, 200, the 400, and the 4x100, which one would you say is your favorite if you have one?
I would probably say the 200 because as much as I like the 400, it's a lot of running. And I like the 200 because it kind of gives me like some room to catch up. And my favorite part about it is just like coming around the bend and then like racing to the finish line because you really don't know who's going to win. So yeah, that's probably my favorite one.
It's fun to build up speed around those turns too.
Yeah, yeah. You come
down the
off it, you
stretch.
feel like a flying car.
Absolutely. The weather this spring, we know, like being out there, it's not been good.
Yeah.
It's been bad. It's not been conducive to great track conditions. But how have you been able to overcome that, the elements, to not just succeed, but to excel?
Honestly, I would say it hasn't been too bad. Like, I'm used to the weather because of soccer.
Yeah.
So, the cold weather, I kind of take it as like, I'm not hot, I'm not sweating, so I can, use it to like keep me cool, especially in those like longer sprints. So I'm not like dying of a heat. And then when it's really hot out, like it decided to switch over, late May. I just see it as like a way to keep my muscles warm and keep me loose, so I'm not pulling any muscles.
Does your routine change at all depending on what the weather is?
Not really. We basically go through the same warm up regardless of weather. And we always have to like wear like sweatpants and a hoodie regardless of what temperature it is. So, it's been good though. We've all stayed pretty healthy regardless of the shin splints. But
Yeah, Coach Terry is pretty adamant about those.
He is
about those pants.
Yeah, but I mean it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. And with your first WPIALS for track upcoming this Wednesday, how are you feeling, and what are you most looking forward to about it?
I'm really excited. I think it'll be a good event, especially since it'll be 2A and 3A track there. So like a lot of people, a lot of energy. And then I would say I'm most looking forward to probably the 200 just because that's my favorite race. And then our 4x1 as well because I think we'll be pretty competitive.
That's great. And we look forward to I look forward to seeing you there. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, you too.
Yes.
And you just heard from Tehya, the North Catholic sprinter. Now let's move on to volleyball to finish up this podcast.
Yes, and volleyball, we're doing the broadcast this Thursday, which is going to be exciting. It's a 3:30 broadcast between the boys volleyball team, and it's going to be the winner of Trinity and Derry, the 7 and the 10 seed. North Catholic is the 2 seed. They get a bye for the first round. They'll be playing Thursday, so they're going to get it in, sneak it in before prom at 3:30. But North Catholic volleyball, they had a great start to the year, Ryan, but they've stumbled
down the stretch. Yep, losing 3 out of their last 4 games, I believe, which is not how you want to close out the year. But they had a great season, and it's still going as the second seed in the playoffs. And their success early in the season was able to secure them that 2 seed, which was much needed to try to avoid Olsh until the championship game. But let's look at some of those games, Alex. They started off the year. They beat Ambridge in a 3-1 decision. Then they beat Olsh in a 3-1 decision, as well with beating LaSalle in a 3-1 decision. 3 of the top 4 teams. And then they stumbled a little bit. They ended up beating Montour, who was actually the 3 seed. But then they lost 3-0 to Shaler. Shaler, that's not a game you can really look at as a bad loss because Shaler is a very, very talented team. Then they got back on the winning ways, beat Mars 3-0, Hopewell 3-0. But then, Alex, what happened from there?
Lost to Ambridge 2-3, and Ambridge is a good team. They're not bad. They're going to be I think they're the 5 seed going into WPIAL playoffs. And North beat them 3-1 back when we were broadcasting that game earlier in the year. And this is a tough atmosphere going down to Ambridge. They played it tight, all 5 sets, and it just didn't go their way. But then from there, they beat Beaver County Christian, and they beat them twice in a span of a week. But in between those 2 wins against Beaver County Christian, they lost to Olsh, and they got swept by Olsh 3-0. And Olsh was on a really hot streak at that point. That was their 7th win in a row. And that was a tough loss. That really was a tough loss. I think it hurt them a bit. It definitely in their perception and their confidence of themselves.
Yeah, and they played Montour after that. Another good Montour team. Montour's the 3 seed and lost them 3-1. I believe they played at Montour though, and so that one it's maybe a bit of a hostile environment after travel all the way up to Montour. Then they closed the season at Olsh Saturday the 14th, and they lost that game. I don't know the actual set score of that one, but I know that they did lose that game.
And now, as you said, they play this Thursday, 3:30, against the winner of Trinity Derry. Derry might win that game. Derry's not bad over the course of this year, and that would give them a good contest. Derry's not going to come all the way up here just to can it in to North Catholic for this kind of a matchup. So it should be a good contest, and we're excited to be bringing that to you on the North Catholic Sports Network.
We're hoping for a run to the championship. The championship games are going to be at Robert Morris, so North Catholic definitely has a chance to make a run. They had a great season. They had to skip back to their energy and their confidence level as they had at the beginning of the year.
Yep, and the road to WPIALS and the road to states goes through North Catholic, and that's what it is for all these teams.
Yes, it is, Alex. A lot of successful teams. We're extremely lucky to be able to announce for such successful teams. We don't
really
talk about any bad seasons, so happy to be able to do that. And remember, we are your one-stop podcast for everything North Catholic athletics.